I'm drilling out the clearance holes in these what are effectively the bottom parts of the underframe, but they look like the top on these videos because the underframe is upside down. So drill them out to M3 to clear the M3 screws. Drill them out 3mm, and absolutely don't drill out the holes in the rest of the underframe because they will be tapped by the screw that's going into them. So that's the next plan now, to drill all these. The same goes for the buffing springs. They will also need to be clear in here. That is effectively a piece of the underframe. Put the 4 screws into the buffing spring. Make sure that this area in here is clear so that it doesn't go onto the clevis. Turn the shoes to the angle where the end of the buffing spring will fit into them, and gently fit the buffing spring into the holes and onto the back of the buffers, like that. And now I'm going to screw these in. I haven't done a trial run, but everything seems to be fitting, so I'm going to screw these into the holes. Always being careful if you do use a power tool, because it's a lot quicker, because there are 40 screws to do. I think it's 40. Just stop before they strip anything, and then we're going to check them with a hand key to make sure everything's tight. Just do them up like that. Makes it quite a bit quicker, to be honest. And then I'm going to use a hand key to go in there and check the tightness of the screws. The fact is, they can come out again, and that's the whole point of doing it like this, that we can just nip them up, make sure everything's tight. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, tight enough. And now we have working buffing springs. There's also clearance inside. Just check the clearance inside the draw gear to make sure it's not hitting the clearance inside the buffing spring. These underframe pieces now fit snugly behind the buffing spring, which is an important part of the structure, so that the buffing spring is actually pushing, when it pushes, not only on the 4 screws but also on the structure of the underframe. Also, now screw up the next set of screws in the same way, just stopping before they bottom out. I've got this set. He said confidently not having it set. I was feeling it anyway, but I set this on the screw driving setting, if you have it on the power tool, to the minimum torque anyway. But actually we're just probably above the minimum torque, which would make it click and ratchet. But oh, there we go. So it does actually work, but I'm not going in full pelt with this. Just want it to tighten up before I do check them all with the hand key. Just a small point, if you do happen to strip any, then what I would do, and it has happened, I've been building a lot of these now, and certainly the early prototypes was experimenting with different sizes. it's quite feasible to put a little drop of the high viscosity super glue into the bottom hole, not in the top, in the bottom, do it up, and yes, it would be more difficult to remove, but in the end it's not going to come out. And I've actually never had to take them apart other than when I've been developing. There's never been one that's had a problem in service, but it could happen. The various things could happen in crashes, for example, and you may want to rebuild parts of it, so it's important to be able to strip it down if you need to. That's why I'm keen also to have the axle guards removable as well. I've just been around all of them to check the tightness with a hand key. By the way, not 40 at all on this wagon, it's actually 32 screws, so 16 each end. So we now have a complete buffing gear and draw gear this end. I'm going to turn the wagon round and do the other end. Or not turn it around, as the case may be, just to be certain that things are flat on the bottom so that it fits snugly onto the top of the other piece, and cleaning up any of the little bits and pieces like this, just for neatness. You can't see it, to be honest, so it's not really a big deal. It's also important that this area here is clear because the buffing spring runs in that, and yeah, it's nice and clear on this one. Just check this. I've already done a little bit on it, but it's there's nothing really here that's gonna affect anything. But if there are, it can be that the prints need a bit of cleaning up. Same procedure as the other end, fitting the ends of the buffing spring into the gaps in the shoes, and I'm going to screw these into there and tighten the buffing spring, and then fit the two underframe pieces. So finally done the last screw and nip them all. Yeah, just checking I've done those, but they're all good and tight. Using this, that one, I was going around them here. That's it. I'll use the short end of the lever because then you can't put huge amounts of torque on the screws. So you'll see we still haven't fitted this piece. It's the last piece to go in the underframe. I'll glue that in shortly. So this is the end of fitting the draw gear and the buffing gear.